Hi, my name is Mrs. Leffer. I'm a fourth grade teacher, and I'll be reading chapters 6 through 9. Chapter 6, Joe. Mom is parked at the curb, waiting in the car when school lets out. Her old parking sticker from Mercy Hospital is still stuck to the windshield. She used to be a nurse there, but she and a bunch of other nurses got laid off right before Christmas last year. After that, everything changed. None of the other hospitals around here were hiring nurses, so Mom had to go on unemployment and Dad took a job driving a truck route because it paid more than he was making at his old job at Walmart. At the end of August, when Mom found out Einstein was looking for a new lunch monitor, she applied for the job without even asking me first. "Hop in," she tells me now, leaning out the window. "No," I answer, too mad to even look at her. "I'm sorry, Joe," she says. "It was an accident. Force of habit. Would a slice of pizza help make up for it?" I shake my head. She broke her promise big time. 1,000,000 slices of pizza isn't going to make up for that. "Hop in," she says again. "No," I tell her. "I'm walking home." Walking helps me think. Not that I really want to think about all that crummy stuff that happened today. Is it possible to have a worse first day of school? After my mom drives away, I hear someone calling my name. "Joe!" I turn around and see Mr. Barnes hurrying to catch up. "I was hoping I might run into you," he says. "How did it go today?" I feel something hard swell up in my throat, and for a minute, I'm scared I might start crying. But I swallow a couple of times, and the feeling goes away. "It was okay, I guess," I tell him. "How do you like Mrs. Beam?" he asks. I shrug. "She's shorter than me," I say. Mr. Barnes laughs and pulls a pack of sugarless gum out of his pocket. He offers me a piece, but I shake my head. Sugarless gum gives me a headache. "How's our old friend Mr. Sam Reed doing this year?" I think about the name Dylan called Mr. Barnes behind his back the day he brought his pink hacky sack to school. A word my mother would wash my mouth out with soap for saying. "He's not my friend," I say, "and no offense, but I don't think he's your friend either." "The world is full of Dylan Samreens, Joe," Mr. Barnes says, unwrapping a piece of gum and putting it in his mouth. "The trick is not to let them get to you." I wonder if Mr. Barnes has ever seen the look on the face of a zebra who's just stepped into a crocodile's mouth. "Thanks for the advice," I say. "If you want, I can write it down for you," Mr. Barnes says, pulling a pen out of his pocket. The hard thing swells up in my throat again. Mr. Barnes knows I have trouble remembering things unless they're written down. "That's okay," I tell him. "And by the way, I like your new tie." I wonder if anyone in Mr. Barnes's class this year will memorize his ties the way I did. Mr. Barnes looks at his watch. He says he's sorry he has to run for a faculty meeting, but that I should feel free to stop by his room any time to chat. "Hang in there, Joe," he tells me as he walks away. My stomach grumbles. I haven't eaten anything since lunch. I think about my mother's offer to take me out for pizza and get mad at her all over again. How could she do that? Blow a kiss right in front of everyone? What part of no corny mom stuff does she not understand? Normally, it takes me half an hour to walk home, but I'm not in any hurry today. Mia, my dog, is waiting for me at the door when I finally get there. She's so happy to see me, she falls all over herself, wagging her tail and trying to lick my face. "Cut it out, Mimi," I laugh, pushing her away. "Your breath smells like liver." Mom has been waiting for me, too. One of her cooking magazines is laying open on the couch next to her. I can tell she's been crying because her nose is red. "What took you so long, Joey?" she asks. "I was beginning to worry. Can we talk?" "I don't want to talk," I say. I go into the kitchen, grab a couple of oatmeal cookies out of the jar on the counter, and pour myself a big glass of milk. Mia follows me upstairs to my room. I take off my sweatshirt, toss it on the floor, and shut the door. I'm starving, but I'd rather skip dinner than have to sit across the table from my mom after what she did. Chapter 7, Ravi. Later, after my evening shower, Appa comes upstairs to say goodnight. "I didn't even have a chance to ask you how your first day of school was, Ravi. Is it true that Parima says that there are no other Indians in your class?" I tell Appa the truth. "There is one other, but he's an ABCD. "What sort of fellow is he?" Appa asks. "Funny," I say, "and popular." Tell him your IQ is 135 and that you were first batsman on your cricket team at Vidya Mandir. That should impress him well. I don't need to impress him, I say. He already wants to be my friend. There's no harm in showing off a little. You were top of your class at Vidya Mandir. Does your new friend know that? I don't tell Appa that it's Mrs. Beam, not Dylan, who needs convincing. If my parents find out that she suggested I need special help with my English, they will insist on coming to school to complain. When Amma comes in next to say goodnight, she tells me, I'm making vegetable biryani in the morning for you to take for your lunch with your cinnamon sticks and coconut milk, just the way you like it. Thank you, Amma, I tell her, slipping the postcard I received from Pramod a few weeks ago in the pages of Bud Not Buddy to save my place. Mrs. Beam only assigned us the first chapter, but I'm liking the story so very much, I've read up to chapter 8. Don't forget to say your prayers, Raja, Amma reminds me. Then she kisses my forehead and turns out the light. My first day of school in America is over, and though it wasn't perfect, I did make a new friend. Not only that, thanks to Appa, I have an idea for how to fix things with Mrs. Beam. She told us that in the morning we will be starting with math. And that is going to change everything. Chapter 8, Joe. At 5 o'clock, Mom comes upstairs to tell me that dinner is almost ready. I made a meatloaf, she says. The recipe is from Bon Appetit, so it ought to be pretty good. My mom is a great cook, and even though I don't want to eat dinner with her, I'm so hungry now I'm actually seeing stars. The phone rings and Mom goes to answer it. I hope it isn't Dad checking in from the road. The last thing I need is for him to get involved in this whole thing between Mom and me. He'd probably just say what he always says. Man up, Joe. The whole house smells like meatloaf. I try to ignore it, but I don't have the willpower to pass it up. I pick up my fork and start eating my dinner as fast as humanly possible. If I make sure my mouth is always full, Mom can't expect me to say anything to her. As soon as my plate is clean, I head to my room to read Bud Not Buddy. Mrs. Beam told us to read the first chapter, but it was only 8 pages long, so I decided to keep going. I'm a pretty decent reader when I'm not distracted. Plus, the story is good. It's about this orphan kid named Bud Caldwell, and there's something about the way he talks that cracks me up. Like, instead of saying all of a sudden, he says whoop, zoop, sloop. I love the way that sounds, whoop, zoop, sloop. When Mrs. Beam wrote the assignment on the whiteboard, Dylan turned around in his seat and made a joke, calling it Pud, not Putty. Mrs. Beam didn't hear it, but Lucy Mulligan did, and she laughed so hard she almost fell out of her chair. Mrs. Beam gave us another assignment too. Some corny personal collection project, whatever that is. She didn't write it on the whiteboard with the other homework. Instead, she just told us about it, which means now I can't remember anything she said. I tried to take notes, but she was talking really fast, and then they started mowing the grass under the windows, so the only thing I know is that the project is due on Friday. I wonder if Miss Frost forgot to talk to Mrs. Beam about me. I hear my mom coming up the stairs, so I quickly stash the book under my pillow, roll over on my side, and close my eyes. She knocks a couple of times, then she opens the door a crack. Joe, she whispers, honey, are you awake? Mia is curled up on the bed beside me, and when she sees my mom, she starts wagging her tail, thumping it against my leg like crazy. I lie there like a rock, but I guess Mom can tell I'm not really asleep. It won't happen again, Joey. No kisses, I promise. When she told me she'd applied for the job, I told her I thought it was a terrible idea. But she needed the work, and Einstein needed a lunch monitor, so who cares if the only thing I actually used to like about school is ruined now? Nobody, that's who. You won't even know I'm there, she tells me. Yeah, right, I say, then pull the pillow over my head. Tuesday, hamburgers. Chapter 9, Ravi. I lay out my math notebook, which Amma and I have carefully covered with brown paper. The label in neat cursive says, Ravi Suryaranyanan, Grade 5, Albert Einstein Elementary School, Mathematics. It is my mother's handwriting. We went to Staples together last week to buy all my school supplies, but she insisted on writing out the labels herself. Even Parima has to admit that Amma's handwriting is beautiful. Your book is the first thing your teacher will notice, Ravi, Amma told me as she carefully wrote my name on one of the smooth white labels. First impressions matter. Now, sitting at my desk, I run my hand over my math notebook and smile. In India, I was the winner of the Math Olympiad 3 years in a row. I know all my multiplication tables till 20. Appa is right. There's nothing wrong with showing off a little. I am sure that after this morning, Mrs. Beam will realize what kind of student I really am, and this silly business about Miss Frost and special help will be over. I placed my new pencil box next to the notebook. Amma made sure that every item on the school supplies list was bought. 3 mechanical pencils, 2 erasers, a 6-inch ruler, 2 highlighters, 4 ruled notebooks, and a pack of 3M Post-its. I keep looking over at Mrs. Beam, but I don't think that she has noticed yet how well prepared I am. She's busy writing on the whiteboard. In India, we only had blackboards. I loved the soft scraping noise the chalk made and the smell of the dusty erasers. The desk in front of me is empty. I wonder if Dylan Samreen will be absent today. But at the last minute, he comes rushing into class and takes his seat. I'm glad my new friend is going to be here to witness what's about to happen. I'm sure he will be impressed. Let's do a quick review, Mrs. Beam announces. Easy peasy, I think, when I see the math problems Mrs. Beam has written on the board. Is this what 5th graders in America are doing? I was expecting something much harder, like maybe order of operations or something to do with decimals and fractions. The big guy who sits behind me is groaning and moaning. I turn around to see what's wrong with him and notice his name card for the first time. Joe Sylvester. As I'm reading his name, Joe Sylvester suddenly looks up. I smile, but he doesn't smile back. I can't believe kids in America are allowed to come to school looking like him. In India, we had to wear uniforms with dress pants, a collared shirt, and a tie. Joe Sylvester has on tracksuit pants and an unironed t-shirt. I face front again and straighten my back. Good posture is also on Amma's list of ways to make a good first impression. Joe Sylvester is slouching in his chair. Who would like to come up and show us how to solve the first problem? Mrs. Beam asks the class. I push up my glasses, take a deep breath, and raise my hand.